My name is Anthony and I'm the owner of Sillis Yard, and this is my little garden in Tower Hamlets. I think I was probably having a nervous breakdown. I have this space since 2014 and for 7 years prior to embarking upon changing the garden to this, I had a fried chicken restaurant, and you see all of the food waste that comes from them, and then obviously you understand where food comes from purchasing and buying. And obviously I was selling something that I didn't really eat, because this is the type of food that I would seek out and buy and purchase from different places. So I decided, well, you know, January 2020, something kind of came over me to change things in my life, and the garden is where I turned. And then over the course of the 3 years, the project has just kept developing and developing, and here we are. There's a few aspects to the ground, because obviously it's so complex. So we've got a few different spaces that we've tried to restore different habitats to grow different crops in. Where we're sitting at the moment is kind of a land-based garden. Most of the stuff that we're trying to plant here is all perennial, edible, unusual as well, like different types of peppers and spices that you would usually have to kind of get from foreign environments. Can they naturalize here? Then upstairs we've got like a growing space where like we grow all annual crops, like loads of salad leaves, different types of herbs. In the summertime you grow tomatoes, aubergines. The soil up there is much richer. There's all different stories depending on the light and depending on like kind of what type of soil is already pre-existing there that we've tried to recreate, and it's just all constant learning. It's just all developing. But most of the species, there's probably about 60 different varieties of salads that we have, probably, I don't know, 15, 16 different types of herbs. We've been trying to seek out loads of like local growers who are growing cool tomato varieties that we can kind of maybe crossbreed here as well, because you just never know what you're going to get. You plant one thing and the next year it turns out to something else. It's just constant learning and evolving. So yeah, lots of different varieties, but trying to be focused on stuff that can fruit well, that you can eat in the shade. I tried to find a lot of things that have like a lot of flavour in them, because I don't eat onion and garlic in my own diet. So how can I incorporate those umami flavours and real depth of flavour in dishes from different leaves or different species that we can find. We found like one amazing thing, because the most important thing for us is obviously we were a food business, so we were creating a lot of waste. The cleverest thing that we found to recompose that material is this little beauty called EM technology. That's effective microorganisms, so it just kind of, it works like the species inside your gut, you know what I mean? Kind of breaks down food really quickly, much quicker than you would with normal composting, because you're actually not composting anything, you're kind of recomposing the material. So most of the stuff that we've been doing is real heavy bet, nutritious, and then trying to like understand that compost is great for feeding your annual crops, but it's not really so great for feeding your perennial crop. So how do you kind of balance the both out? And obviously where we're positioned, we've got loads of lovely trees, so we utilise all the tree leaves in order to kind of create these kind of soil environments or amendments for these type of plants. And then like the EM technology is kind of what we feed our crops that we grow up on the roof, and it's kind of amazing. I think it's really efficient. The challenge is when it gets really hot in the summertime, you know, that's the challenge. Trying to make sure that you have enough water or enough like living water that the plants will actually enjoy it, and they'll give you a higher yield. And then obviously trying to figure out how to distract the pigeons and the squirrels as well. But the squirrels don't damage as much. They damage some crops like corn, but the pigeons love to destroy all the char leaves, all the brassica leaves. So that's kind of the hardest thing. But not resources. It's kind of like there's endless amounts of resources here if you know where to look for them. That's kind of one of the main things that I've seen is like actually the huge opportunity in growing in an urban space, is that you have these things underneath your nose every day that you take for granted that you can actually build millions of different types of garden habitats from. And that's kind of what is really exciting about being in a city like this. Also having all the neighbours looking in, that kind of enthuses them, and sure, every one of them holds food waste. Food waste, you know, creates a lovely rich amendment for growing more crops. So no, there's no shortage of resources, just shortage of people thinking outside the box. I think that the biggest message is that like everything that's happened here, like that you hear is disastrous, is fixable. Like everything. That's such a big thing to say, but I mean it actually is, because all the technology that's going to fix everything already exists, and it's all biology. And you know what I mean? All that biological technology is here. So if you kind of focus a little bit on the garden, a little bit about soil, because I think soil is obviously the biggest thing, the ticket to all of the answers for all of the kind of issues we face. That starts kind of showcasing how that works in a city, because you've kind of got ground zero to work from, but it also gives you a real test bed for how you can actually push that level of understanding even further than what's known at the moment. So I just think the garden is quite magical. Trees are magical, soil is magic, the insects, it's just all so magical, but it does need to be managed, do you know what I mean? And you kind of need to figure out how we're actually going to push forward, and how you push forward is training people about it, because it's really hopeful, and there's loads of stuff to learn, and there's loads of land that we could be growing loads of nutritious, delicious crops from. The biggest thing is basically a more efficient resource recovery model that works localized in cities in order to take all of those resources that our people are not really valuing at the moment and bringing them to one space, breaking them down with the right biology, and then implementing them into the direct neighborhood where that waste was created. So you can see how that closed loop system works, because like everything in nature is like cyclic, right? Comprehend nature and copy it. So it's like all of the stuff is just kind of put into the wrong places. If we could create a little framework, which we think we have by collaborating with all the neighbours and the stakeholders, the council and some of the businesses, to create a soil lab where we bring all this organic waste form, change it into organic soil, organic matter, and then feed the local wasted spaces, and then try to restore some of the habitats there.